Hi, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins, and welcome to Financial Lovemaking. This is where we talk about love, life, money, and everything in between. I'm here with my buddy, partner, and co-host, the entertainment director at Ebony Magazine, Miss S. Tia Brown. How you doing today, Tia?
I'm good. Love, life, money, and everything in between. That is everything.
Yes,
Love, life, and
Lord.
money is everything.
MOE, money over everything, right? Yeah, yeah. You look so happy today. You're smiling. You're stylish. That's what does that say? Bliss.
It says bliss. I'm in a blissful mood.
Okay, go ahead, Miss Bliss.
Yes,
So what are
yes.
you all blissful about?
Life is good in general. Happy to be here. Happy to start a new year. Happy to see more brown faces on television, even though I know everybody isn't.
I like brown faces as long as they represent brown people. And that's the question, right? And I'm really thinking about this show with Taraji and Terrence Howard,
Yeah, Empire.
Empire. Empire.
Empire is a big show right now. A
Oh,
lot of people are excited. Most of my friends and family have been chatting about it. And, people will say, the show highlights some dysfunctional parts of the black family and why does money have to come with such negative connotations? But other people say, like, this is a part of life. The show is about a couple. Taraji Henson plays a woman who went to jail after doing some hustling to give her boo some money to start a big business. Terrence Howard plays the boo, and his business went from bust to boom while she did about, what, I think 15 years in jail or maybe a little bit more, right? She did a long bit, at least a decade.
right.
And now she's out and she wants her money.
Well, okay. So we've got Lucius Lyon and his ex-wife Cookie. No stereotypes there, right? And they're fighting over money because Cookie is the angry black woman determined to bring this black man down who got her sent to prison. Apparently, is that how the story went? That she's was in prison because of him?
From my understanding, it's somebody had to take the L, and it
Mm.
was decided that it was going to be her.
Oh, wow.
I'm not
Okay.
sure who decided because I haven't seen all the episodes, so I don't want to give false information. However, the money was for their family business, which is now the record label, and he's a multimillionaire, and she spent many sleepless nights in prison. She's out now and she wants her fortune. I have to say, I know people will assume that I think that this is a terrible show. I'm not against showing black families in different lights, right? So for me, as long as you have other shows to balance it, are there families who have, drug dealing and negative business practices in their history to get to the top, whether they're black or white? Yes. So I don't think this is a terrible thing.
Well, I think the question is, are they on Fox? I mean, if you're talking about the Fox, if you talk about the Fox network, is the Fox network going to, are they going to greenlight and pay for a show that, where you've got Claire and Cliff Huxtable and, and the family that isn't involved in insane amounts of ratchetry, that
I love
isn't
the word.
dysfunctional. You know what, this craziness, the ratchetry around us just leads me to be creative, and I just invent words to define what I'm seeing around me. And so, I think at the end of the day, that's the question, right? I mean, are we biased in that direction? Where, here's a good example. There's one guy, and you may know of him because he's been in so many movies. Maybe you don't, but I don't know his name. But he's a Hispanic actor, and he always plays a thugged out Hispanic gangbanger. Every time he appears in the movie, he always walks up, yo, what's going on, Holmes? Yo, I'll F you up, Holmes. Da, da, da. What's up, Holmes? And every time. I mean, you never see him play a pastor. You never see him play, any kind of role model. He's never a teacher. He's never a police officer. Every single time he's in a film, he always plays a Latino gangbanger.
Well, we
And,
know that there's typecasting on TV. So I'm
yes.
looking up Fox's lineup, and I have to say, there are not a lot of brown faces in general on Fox, but some of the shows that do have brown faces on them include The Mindy Project, which is about a woman who is, maybe East Indian, and she has a medley of friends. Most of them are white, but there's an African American person or two on the show. You have The Red Band Society, which starred Octavia Spencer. I believe that show isn't doing so well in ratings. You have Sleepy Hollow, which has Nicole Bari, I believe her last name is, and this is a hit show, and it's a takeoff of a fairy tale. And then you have Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which has two African American cast members on it, Terry Crews and another gentleman whose name is kind of skipping my mind. But they are definitely not the stars of the show, but they're strong cast members. So does Fox have a bunch of diversity in Black family? No, but a lot of their shows aren't about families in general, and they also have like American Idol and those kind of reality show brands. For me, I look at Empire as okay, it's not the greatest family portrayal, but then you have something like Blackish, even though it's on ABC, it does show a family in a different light, and it has had a comparable level of success. It's been renewed.
Okay. I think
Like,
no,
this is why
here's the thing. I don't think that we can allow Fox to be bailed out by ABC. My gripe is not with ABC. Even though they have Scandal and people have their issues with Scandal. I haven't said much about Scandal. I think okay, Scandal's a guilty pleasure. Maybe you enjoy seeing Kerry Washington live out the life that you secretly would like to live.
Scandal is a story, and I get
Right,
what you're saying.
right.
We want our actors to be able to tell stories about life, not stereotypes about what Black life is supposed to be like and glorifying the negativity. So I'm all
Right.
for you in that way.
Right, right, and I think that's the issue. I mean, if you really look at, let's just pick one network at a time, and you see Fox's portrayal of the Black family. It's built on every stereotype that Fox's audience already believes about Black people. Remember, Fox's audience is mostly white, especially Fox News, and so these are the people, and these are not regular white people. These are people that have a certain image of what Blackness represents. They're the ones who saw Mike Brown get shot and said, of course he deserved to be shot. He's a thug. A lot of those guys are thugs. So we have to really think about what's happening when we are confirming that belief that Black men are thugs. Like we're gonna not only are we gonna agree with you, but we're going to support shows that present us as thugs or as hoochies or as dysfunctional, mentally ill people, so that later on when a police officer shoots an unarmed Black man, it makes sense because he comes from that very same stock. And I think that's what where we should be concerned, that we cannot confirm the thug narrative for the racists that are supporting the cops that might go out and kill Black men because they think that they're thugs. I would say it's fun. I had mixed feelings about critiquing the show Empire. I wouldn't say criticize, because I'm not hating on Taraji and Terrence. I love those actors. I even liked Hustle and Flow a lot. And when people ask me, well, have you watched Empire to even, confirm what you're thinking about the show? And I say, you know what? I haven't watched a whole lot of it because I know that if I watch it, I'm gonna like it. It's just like asking me, if I tell you don't smoke crack, and you say, well, have you ever tried crack to know that it's bad? I say no, because I'm not going to try it, because I know that if I smoke crack, I'm probably going to enjoy it. If I smoke crack, it will literally change my opinion about whether or not a person should smoke crack, because I'm sure it's enjoyable. So with reality TV, with some of this imagery, I understand why people enjoy it. I allow myself to enjoy it when I watch it, but I understand that it's not healthy. And there's a point where you have to accept the idea that even though something is enjoyable, that maybe it's just not good for you. Maybe it's not good for your people. And even if other people don't get it, and I know everybody's not going to get it, a lot of people are going to watch this show. But remember, mostly white people are going to watch it. It's not a majority Black audience. You can't get those numbers with a majority Black audience most of the time, especially not Fox. When you watch the show, I encourage people to just watch it with a critical eye, because at the end of the day, I see my role as not being a person who's going to stop the party, but I am the designated driver who says, okay, you guys go in and have fun in the club, just don't drink too much. And maybe my presence, me being the conscience that's on your shoulder, will cause you to take, 3 drinks instead of 5. Or, you know what I mean? Or cause you to slow your roll a little bit so you don't get too caught up in the madness. And that's kind of how I see, Empire. I don't tell people not to watch it. I just say, look, this is what's going on. This is what they're doing to you. Make sure you're aware of this, because understand that to some extent, if you think about it, think about the way we might manage animals in a zoo. When you train animals to do a certain thing, or you incentivize them to behave in a certain way, you're not telling lions to behave a certain way so they can entertain other lions. The other lions might observe this and learn from this, but they're not doing this for the lions. They're doing this for the people that are watching the lions, right? So
Right.
sometimes in media, black people become like those lions. We're in this media cage where we're incentivized to behave in a certain way that feeds some sort of fantasy, some sort of thug dysfunctional fantasy of what other people think black people do. Right? So this show was not created for black people. It involves black people, and black people are going to watch it, but it was created for white people who enjoy watching black people behave in the ways that they think black people behave when they're not around. That's where the danger comes in, and I think that's what we have to really understand here.
I hear you, boys. I don't fully agree. I have to be honest. I definitely get what you're saying in terms of that we can often be pigeonholed, and that, Fox has a reputation for, having a negative relationship with the African American community and their views and their standpoints. However, I think when you're looking at entertainment, especially for Fox TV, you have to look at the body of work. And I don't think that you should vilify one program. I think you should look at all of the shows that are on the body, and then make an assessment as to where you feel the network stands on how it portrays African Americans. If you can look at the whole lineup of shows, like when I look at Fox's lineup, which is in front of me right now, most of the shows aren't about families, right? They're about different slices of life. That doesn't mean that I'm naive to the fact that we like to see African Americans in a certain role, but I'm also buoyed by the fact that I do see a show like Sleepy Hollow where there's an African American lead and it's not a stereotypical role. That I do see shows like Brooklyn Nine-Nine. For me, the important thing is to make sure that there's diversity and opportunity for all of these shows. So a show like The Following that stars Kevin Bacon, I want to make sure that there are African Americans and other minorities portrayed in non-stereotypical roles. A show like Grace Point, to me, that's the priority. I don't think that we have to eliminate telling one story to make sure that we're part of the others.
Well, I can't disagree with you. I think that what we have to consider is the fact that right now, this show Empire it's the hottest, most most
It's talked
I
about.
guess
It's fun.
most talked about show
So
in
the thing is that
America right
this
now.
is so you have Power on Stars. Now you have Empire on Fox. What I don't want to see happen, and I agree that this is what you're saying is that all networks start making these little dummy copies, saying like this is the only thing that can be enjoyed about Black
It,
life.
it and also remember that the black family is in a healing process right now. Our families have been obliterated from the first of all, from the Vietnam War, killing so many black men, getting them hooked on drugs. These are our fathers and grandfathers of the children of the young adults now. So you have that dysfunction. What happened with drugs and guns going into our communities? What happened with mass incarceration? Our families have been obliterated. So the Lucius Cookie scenario is being played out all over the country. And the last thing I think we need to do is support media that glorifies this narrative, right? In my opinion, and it's funny. You mentioned Power. You mentioned, some other shows that are out there, and it's really funny. I had to really ask myself, why is it that Empire bothers me more than Power does? Power is kind of similar, right?
Right. Is it
Former
because
drug
a
dealer.
woman is coming for her money?
No. It's not about the woman coming for her money. It's about the fact that she's an angry, evil black woman that is just sort of portraying this kind of monstrous figure that so many people think black women represent, and I
So you
think
feel
that's
like the
just
character
patently
plays
unfair.
into all of the negative
And
stereotypes
and, 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 and everybody in the family's
about black
crazy. I
women.
mean,
Yeah.
everybody in that family is a little bit off and messed up, And I think that's just kind of it. I think that's what probably gets to me. I mean, I watched Power. I watched one episode of Power. I didn't get that. I didn't get that the people in the show were just so outrageously insane that I got a sense that okay, there's a guy who deals drugs and runs a club. He has a wife. He has children. But there was not
A level of
nearly
dysfunction.
right. There
So
was not nearly as much insanity in that.
yeah, I think the interesting thing that you bring up is also the point that to me is actually more compelling about the show. When you have these highly dysfunctional adults their seeds, everything that comes from them they're going to have issues. So, while people may look at the glamorous lifestyle, I hope that people pay attention to the fact that the trauma that their choices caused had a dramatic effect on all of their family members despite being wealthy.
Right, right. And you know what it is too about this show. I don't like the show for the same reason I don't like Love and Hip Hop. I think it glamorizes. It's really a scripted version of Love and Hip Hop. That's
Okay.
what it is. That is exactly what it is. And maybe with older characters, right? Because Taraji and Terrence are in their 40s. Love and Hip Hop focuses on a lot of people that are in their 20s and 30s and stuff. But really, that's what it is. I mean, and so when you're tying the dysfunctionality to this the stereotypes to with the violence and the incarceration, and then you're throwing in the hip hop music on top of that kind of black tragedy to a beat, black genocide to a
To a
beat
beat.
to a beat that we could dance to. I think that's probably what ends up irking me, because we live in a society that celebrates the death of the black family. We celebrate the destruction of our children. We celebrate the incarceration of our men, and the humiliation of our women. That's what music kind of has done to us, right? And I think that's a
They went from
problem.
telling the story of men and women who are experiencing that to making it seem as that is the only experience. When hip hop first started, that story was just one piece of it. You had people telling stories about partying, about black power, about having fun, about getting to a new level in life. And because of the powers that be, that part of it became glamorized. So I get your concern.
Yeah,
I
and that's a good point you make. I mean, because if you go back in hip hop, people have always rapped about drugs and guns and prison and all the things that happen to black people, and babies being shot, stuff like that. But if you go back and you remember, early hip hop talked about those things in a way that didn't glorify it.
absolutely.
They didn't say that it's fun, that I love shooting other black men, or you know what I mean,
It
or,
was
or
about
I love
your life.
raping women, or I want
Yeah.
to, but think about this. We literally have artists now who have rapped and bragged about how they love to rape women. Rick Ross, when he made the joke about slipping the Mickey in the woman's
Yeah.
drink, right? The roofie, and so, and then you constantly hear rappers talk about the joy of killing another black man, and that's where it flips. I mean,
Right.
because if you go back, you remember,
So that's what now makes men seem and feel powerful. So
right?
for me, the question is, when you watch the show, and I'll pose this also to our viewers, does the portrayal of the black family, the relationship between Cookie and Lucius as a couple, as exes, their relationship with their children, and their relationship with money have a negative impact on African Americans and how African Americans are perceived? That
Yes.
is the question.
That is the question, and I have
It's
nothing else to say. We're going to go ahead and shut it down, because I feel passionate about this,
yeah.
and I could talk about it all day. But I appreciate you engaging me with this conversation. Thank you very much, Tia.
Happy to be here. Have a great day.
Bye
Thanks
bye.
everybody for listening. Let us know your thoughts.
Yes. Bye bye.